Hey, I'm Ryan from First Edition's Shrubs and Trees, and welcome to Steal the Look. I'm gonna pop in as you watch these fantastic garden tours from our friends at Garden Gate to share design ideas, plant recommendations, regional tips, and even more. All so that you can walk away knowing how to steal the look. Today, we'll be touring Ellie Gilbert's beautiful hillside garden in Zone 6, Massachusetts. Let's go.
It's a beautiful morning here in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and I have the great pleasure of being here with Ellie Gilbert, and she's going to tell us about how she established this really just pretty garden here. Hi, Ellie.
Hi.
Thanks for having us here.
Oh,
it's
well,
so beautiful.
I'm glad you came. I'm delighted to be able to show you what I've done with my garden. We came here in about 2001 in a newly built house. This backyard was a virtual sand pit. It was nothing but sand, a steep and featureless hill, nothing on it, just a couple of scrub pines down there in the distance. And so we decided to start by building a patio. My husband's the hardscape man. He put in the patio, and then I started putting some plants around it.
Yes, I love designing around a hardscape like this patio. It's a great first step, especially if you're unsure what to tackle first, and it's gonna be closest to what you're experiencing from the house. So start with that hardscaping.
And it kept growing and growing. Of course, I love gardening, so it was a pleasure to be working out here and developing all of this.
But there was still the hillside.
There's still the hill.
Right.
And I knew something had to be done with that because I was really concerned about erosion.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was so steep and so sandy. So I started by, this was an undeveloped area, so there were a lot of woods around, and there were birch saplings growing all through the woods. And I dug up several of them, and I knew because they had a very widespread root system that might help hold the hill.
Oh, right.
So I planted several of them at the top of the hill, and they probably were only maybe 2-3 feet tall
Oh,
at
wow.
the time.
And now look at
And
them.
now look at them, right? This is 18, 20 years later. They've really gotten huge.
It's a great backbone for the garden.
And I love birches.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All year round,
Yeah.
they have something to offer.
Yep.
They're really pretty.
Like Ellie and Kristen, I love birch trees around the garden for many reasons, but especially the multi-season interest. If you're looking for the perfect birch, you can't go wrong with Parkland Pillar. You're gonna be thanking me in late fall when your garden glows with those bright golden leaves, and they're great columnar trees. So if you're looking for something tall and skinny, or you wanna make a really cool hedge, Parkland Pillar is the way to go.
So the birches were first?
They were first, and then I added the junipers because I knew they also would be good ground cover and help hold the hill.
I just bought a house a year ago, and I also have this really big hill that I needed to plant. I'm in Zone 4. I loved using Jade Parade Sand Cherry. Not only does it hold the hill in place, but it's got great multi-season interest and is a fabulous pollinator plant.
And just kept, there's my friend again.
Oh, the little rabbit.
Yeah. Yeah, but not my friend anymore.
No,
This summer
right.
they've really been bad. But anyway, they started holding the hill, and then I began using some of the same plants I had here in the patio on the hill garden, and I wanted to keep some symmetry between the two gardens.
So you've got some repetition, and
Yeah.
we have these, these ground cover geraniums.
Right, those
the
are
Carmina.
geranium carmina, and
And they do so well.
yeah, they do. They spread, and they last quite a while. They bloom for maybe 3-4 weeks.
Oh wow, yeah.
Wow.
So that's really nice, and they're so tidy, and their leaves are compact, and it's just a nice. It's perfect on this hillside.
Looking for something that has extended bloom time that adds color to your space just like those geraniums? Try Lemon Meringue Potentilla.
And in the border over on the other side as well. It's really pretty. I like the repetition, as I said.
Yeah, well, I tried to do that. That was part of my design, was to establish a pattern of plants and then repeat it all along the hill so that it would give us sort of a sense of rhythm.
It's really good. And the lines and the curves that
And the
you
curves,
have are
yeah, I
so
love.
really-
I'm all about soft, flowing curves. No rectangles or sharp angles.
It's
It doesn't appeal to me.
It's just really a comfortable, pleasant place to walk through.
Yeah, yeah.
If If you're like Ellie and prefer that soft, sort of ethereal look, try a combination of broad and fine leaves, different textures, and complementary colors to keep it feeling really comfortable and beautiful.
And so the other thing that you mentioned to me a little bit ago was the steps on the hillside.
Yes.
And so those were kind of also part of your husband's project.
Hardscape, right, right. We
Yeah.
unearthed a bunch of stones when we were trying to build the patio and plant for some of these shrubs. And so we kept them in a pile on the top. And because the hill is so steep, it wasn't easy to get up there to do
Right,
anything.
right.
So he started by building the stone steps. And then that was the first place I started putting in some shrubs
And perennials
on
around
either
it.
side of it.
Well, I love the way they're sort of just nestled into the plants on the
Yeah,
hillside. It's a
yeah.
really, really pretty look.
Okay, I love the way that those perennials drape down the stairs, but remember, this can be a multi-year process, so start with the structural shrubs first, and then maybe add that filler in next year if you don't have time to do it right now.
So what's the secret to gardening in sand? What's your secret to gardening
Compost.
in sand?
Lots and lots of compost because it's
Okay.
wonderful drainage.
Of course, yeah.
But there's not much nourishment in the sand. So my husband built me a compost bin, and that was one of the first things he put in when we moved here because he knew I would be gardening.
It's smart.
And so I had always a source of materials. And everything I planted, I had to build a hole that was much bigger than I would normally have, fill it with as much compost as I could so that the roots had something to
Right.
grab onto. Yeah.
Ellie's comments on composting are great, and if you want plants that need that really beautiful humusy soil, follow her recommendations on building the compost. But if you don't want to work that hard, you can also pick plants that adapt to the soil you have. So sandy soil like she had naturally, there are things like Flipside Vitex or Jade Parade Sandcherry, like I mentioned earlier, that tolerate being planted in that sandy soil. There's also beautiful perennials like American Gold Rush, Black-Eyed Susan, or Russian Sage that naturally are adapted to sandy soil and will be beautiful for you.
And then, do you feed? What's your feeding look like, or is the compost the feed?
No, I do a top dressing of compost around a lot of things, but I do use an organic fertilizer.
Okay.
And
Once a year?
once a year in the
Okay.
spring, just one feeding.
A granular, just sprinkle
Yeah,
it around.
just sprinkle it around,
Well,
you know.
everything seems to be pretty happy with that program.
Yeah, luckily, yeah. This has been a good year for the garden.
Has it? Oh, good.
There have been years that, I don't know, something is always a banner year for a plant.
Right.
This year it was the lilacs and the roses.
Was
And
a
it
good
looks
one.
like this year my hydrangeas are going to do well.
Yeah, they look. We're a little before hydrangea
Season,
blooming season,
right, but I see
but
lots
they look like
of
they're coming
blossoms.
on. Yeah, that's going to be a good summer.
Okay, I love me a hydrangea. Adds beautiful structure, color, texture to the garden. And for a garden like Ellie's, where maybe we want a white blooming hydrangea, I love Little Hottie or White Diamonds panicle hydrangea. Little Hottie, maybe a little bit smaller. White Diamonds, if you've got some space to play, plant that for a little bit bigger, beautiful textured panicle hydrangea.
So then, in addition to your patio garden and your hillside, you also have a shade garden up at the top
Up at the top of the hill, right.
Let's go take a look up there.
Okay.
So these are the steps we were just talking
Right,
about, right?
right.
I just love them. They're built in so nicely to the hillside, and
Yeah.
the plants just
Well, my husband
overlap.
asked for that specifically. He said, I really want you to plant some things that'll sort of drape over the edges because they do have sort of a box-like
when they were
form
new,
when they were new, yeah.
right? And now they
And,
just look like they've been here forever.
been forever,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
really nice.
Yeah.
And so these spireas are blooming now.
Yeah.
Spirea are workhorses in the landscape. They are covered in flowers, have great structure, and are super, super resilient. One that I love that's similar to what Ellie's got in the landscape that is new is Little Spark Spirea. It has beautiful yellow chartreuse leaves that are persistent all the way through summer, even when they're planted in full sun, and is complemented by these beautiful, beautiful flowers all the way summer through fall. And you've got great fall color on the leaves. So multi-season interest, beautiful in the landscape, and really, really hardy.
And then in June, out come these purple blossoms.
They're perfect.
Yeah.
They look terrific
Yeah.
on this hillside, and I like the repetition that you have down as you look down the
Yeah, purple and
hill.
pink, those are my colors.
So you
Yeah.
soft colors.
As a matter of fact, even if you go in my closet, you'll see lots of pinks and purples. It seems to be a color that I really love. Blue.
Oh, yeah. So soft, and it all goes with the house so well and the style.
Ellie is so right. You can't go wrong with purples and pinks. If you're in a cold climate, try something like Pink Teeny Lilac, which comes from Canada, so it's really super cold hardy. And if you're in a warmer climate, try something like Galactic Pink Chase Tree. It's a beautiful pollinator plant, has big, long pink flowers, and reblooms every 6 to 8 weeks.
The style here.
Yeah.
And then you have some pops of yellow with your.
Yeah, well, sometimes, those were a gift from a neighbor. We did a little exchange of plants, and it's an evening primrose, and it's kind of a cheerful color, I think, and it's especially by the green door over there.
It's really a nice pop of color.
Adding pops of bright color like that beautiful yellow in Ellie's garden is a fabulous way to draw the eye to a really specific place in the garden. You can do that in your yard by planting something like Lucky Devil 9-bark, which is new for 2023, and it is a fabulous focal point as that yellow leaf really shines bright all summer long, and then in fall is a beautiful orange. So not only do you get that yellow that draws your eye all summer, but pretty fantastic multi-season interest as well.
And as the season progresses, so we start the year with pinks and purples.
Right. And around about July, as those sort of go by, out come the Shasta daisies, the white, my blue hydrangeas.
Like I said before, I live for a good hydrangea moment, and my new favorite is Pop Star hydrangea from our friends at Endless Summer. Now, if you don't have the space that Ellie does for a bigger lace cap hydrangea, Pop Star is perfect because it's only 18 to 36 inches tall at maturity, and it is a blooming machine, absolutely covered in electric blue or really bright pink lace cap flowers.
Your coreopsis.
The coreopsis for more yellow.
And then some daylilies.
And daylilies,
Happy
right,
returns.
exactly.
Yeah, it's really, really
I
nice.
did plant with the idea that just something would be in bloom all season long.
When planning out your garden, think about seasonality just like Ellie did. Now, sometimes those late season bloomers might get forgotten because we think about the beautiful summer lush landscape, but fall flowers and fall color is so important. And one of my favorites is Sapphire Surf Bluebeard because when you think fall, you're thinking orange and red and yellows, but Sapphire Surf blooms blue in late summer and fall to add a little bit extra of that va-va-voom for your fall landscape.
And it goes all the way into October or late October, because there are a lot of sedums, a lot of ornamental grasses, zebra grass in the patio,
Right.
and penstemon here on the hill.
It's very sweet. Well, it's so well designed, and what a smart design. So you were also telling me about how you plan for the year, and you start a list.
I start a list. I'm already into my plans for 2022. Yeah,
So really organized and thoughtful in your design. I
At
think
my
that
age,
it
I have to
shows.
keep notes. I can't remember from one week to the other what my plans were. So anyway.
Well, your great organization and careful planning really shows here.
Yeah, thank you.
This is a great view of the rest of the garden from up here.
Oh, yeah.
That's so
yeah,
pretty.
Yeah.
And so now you have your shade garden up here.
Right, we had all of these oaks. These were here,
Okay.
and they do provide an awful lot of shade.
Yeah.
So I decided that, well, the right place, right plant in the right place would be shade plants. So,
So you
lots
have
of
a mix of
hostas,
hostas.
lots of astilbes, heuchera, painted fern, autumn
ferns.
fern, just a mix of,
Some little
shade-loving.
And some little rhododendrons.
Little azaleas, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, so pretty.
Let's show some love for shade gardens because they deserve to look just as good as those full sun gardens too. Now, Ellie's got a beautiful Zone 6 shade garden here, but if you live in a little bit warmer climate, you might want to try something like Banana Peel Small Anise Tree. It's got vibrant chartreuse foliage even in full shade, so brighten up those dark corners with Banana Peel.
And so what are some of the challenges that you face up here, besides sand?
Besides sand, yeah, the same thing, with that everything had to be planted in lots of compost. My other challenge is the fact that our irrigation system waters the lawn, but it only reaches the crest of the hill.
Just not quite
That's
enough.
not quite enough, exactly. So when these, we're going through a dry spell, I have to lug a hose or watering cans and do all of this
all
by
the
hand.
way up to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something.
Watering is especially important when you are starting to get a plant established. And if you've got something planted in sand, like Ellie does, that maybe doesn't naturally thrive there, water is super important. Now, if you don't want to lug hoses up, you can always do drip irrigation. And there's some really cheap, easy DIY solutions for drip irrigation online.
So this garden is just meticulously taken care of, I can tell. What's your routine for that?
Well, in the spring, I hand edge all of the garden, and then we apply mulch. We usually get about 5-6 yards of mulch each year.
Okay.
Because I do have gardens all around the side of the house and an
Right.
island garden out front. So it takes a lot of mulch. But a good layer of mulch really helps keep the weeds down. And so it's just a matter of every morning I take a stroll through, pick up anything that's popping up that shouldn't be there.
Right.
And
That kind of keeps it manageable. It
yeah,
doesn't, you never
right,
feel
and never,
overwhelmed
exactly,
for the rest of
exactly.
the rest
Just
of the
spend
year.
an hour or two a day
Just-
in maintenance.
Just strolling
Yeah.
through and enjoying
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah, and that
dealing
is
with
my
little-
favorite time of the day, is in the morning. I usually take a walk through, and it's so peaceful. And all
Yeah.
you hear are the birds chirping.
the light and the
yeah.
birds. Oh yeah, it really is just such a great view of the garden from up here.
Yeah, that's exactly why we put that bench here, so that we could sit down and take a look.
Smart.
And actually, it's a place where I sit down and say, oh, I think I need to move that, and I need to move those. That's
You're developing your to-do
Yeah,
list from up
exactly,
here.
exactly.
That's good. Well, now I want to try the bench. You noticed the foxgloves from up here that I hadn't noticed so much from down below.
Yeah.
I love Ellie's use of foxgloves here. And another way to add sort of that pink and purple theme that she's got throughout the rest of the garden is adding some phlox in here, so you get that sort of repetitive pattern. Using things like grape lollipop, bubblegum pink, coral cream drop phlox brings that pattern of color all the way throughout the garden, while also keeping it a really delicate bloom.
Do those reseed for you, or
Yes,
do you replant
and
them?
no. Once they're there, I make sure that I don't mulch around anything that I want to reseed.
Oh, okay.
So, but of course they're biennial, so whatever is falling this year won't bloom until another year from now.
Right.
But there's always some little rosettes that are developing.
Nice.
And
So you have the foxglove and the lychnis, or the campion.
the rose campion, and
campion.
also I have forget-me-nots that reseed heavily. So I always make sure that where they are, I don't put a heavy layer of mulch, so that the seeds have a chance to
Makes
pop up
sense.
again.
Makes sense. Well, Ellie, this has been just delightful. I've
Oh,
enjoyed.
I'm so delighted you came. I love to share my garden with people.
Well, it's so beautiful, and you're so interesting to talk to. We could sit here all day. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
And there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed the tour, and thank you so much to Ellie for welcoming us into your beautiful garden, to Kristen and the Garden Gate team for leading the tour, and I hope that you are walking away with tons of inspiration and ideas on how to steal the look and make it a reality in your garden. I can't wait to see what you create. Happy gardening, and I'll see you next time on Steal the Look.